Annette and welcome. Today I'm going to be bringing you the top 3 eyeshadow palettes in every category. Now, I don't know who started this. I saw this video on Heather Austin's channel and she said she got it from Angelica Nifkis's channel. But I don't know who started it. And I think Angelica did some modification of this original idea, and I have modified it as well. I've added a couple of categories that were not in Heather's video. So I have got, and I have them written down, I have got 8 categories, and I'm going to be sharing with you my top 3 eyeshadow palettes in each of the categories. We're going to start off with neutral eyeshadow palettes. This one was a hard one. I don't use neutral palettes too much, so this was a little difficult, but I did come up with 3. One of them being Juvia's Place, the Nubian 3 Coral palette. This palette is just so nice. It's just so nice. You have all these coral shades, but then you have these gray shades as well. You've got this brown here. You got a couple of browns here. And yeah, it's pretty. If you want to do nice coral, brown looks, gray looks, but neutral looks, this is a really nice palette, and it's pretty affordable as well. Then one that immediately came to mind was from ColourPop, and it's the Stone Cold Fox palette, and this is their all cool tone neutral palette. This is what she looks like, and I remember when I first got this palette, I was testing it out and trying it out, and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. So you have a black, and you have these cool tone brown taupe shades, and then you have some mauve tones. You've got a couple of grays in here as well. Then you've got your really light neutral shades. And yeah, for me, this is an all you can eat type palette when it comes to neutral cool tone shadows. So this one definitely. And then my third neutral palette in the top 3 is from Sample Beauty, and it's the Equalizer 2 palette. And this is my first foray into Sample Beauty. This is what this palette looks like. And this to me is just a really pretty neutral eyeshadow palette. You've got a couple of dual chromes in here, and you have your mauves, and you have your, you know, your brown bronzy tones. You've got a black, you've got a white, and your warm tone browns. And yeah, it's just a nice warm neutral palette. You can easily do everyday or work looks with this palette, as well as amp it up for nighttime and special occasion. And yeah, my first time purchasing from Sample Beauty or using any of their eyeshadow palettes, and I really like the formula, so really nice. Okay, the next category is top 3 rainbow / colorful palettes. And this one was pretty easy. Of course, the first one I thought of was from Beauty Bay, and it's the, I know y'all are tired of me talking about this palette, the 42 color bright matte palette. And isn't it nice to know though that, you know, I still love this palette from the first time I ever purchased it and used it on my channel to now, which has got to be over a year at least, I think, that I still like this palette. And you also have a neutral row right here, but then you have all of the bright colors you could ever ask for in a rainbow palette, and the quality is really nice too, and it's very affordable as well, and they're always having sales too. You can get it for pretty cheap. So yes, still like that palette, still one of the best rainbows palettes in my opinion. And then want to go a little higher up in terms of affordability. We have from Vizia the Editorial Brights palette. This is an oldie but a goodie, and again, it's still the first I guess rainbow palette that I used, and my socks were knocked off because it's so pigmented. This might have been my first purchase from Viseart. No, I think it might have been my second from Viseart. The colors are as bright on the eye as they are in the pan. They stay true to color, which what I love about Viseart. And yeah, really, really nice. Oldie but a goodie. And then in the last palette in the colorful rainbow palette category is from Plain and Makeup by Yolando, and it's the Jamrock Wishishana pastel palette. So it's not a rainbow palette, it's a pastel palette, but really nice pastel colors, pastel eyeshadows that actually show up on my skin tone. If you're unfamiliar with Plain and Makeup by Yolando, she makes some pigmented matte eyeshadows. I'm not crazy about her metallic formula, to be honest. It's not one of my favorites, but this is a predominantly matte palette, and it's pastel, and it shows up on my skin tone, so definitely wanted to mention this. Next up, monochromatic palettes. There were a lot, and I should say a lot of the palettes I'm going to share with you today could have been in several of these categories, but I really, tried to put them in the categories I thought most appropriate. But monochromatic palettes, there are a lot of monochromatic palettes in my collection that could have gone into this category. I had to only pick 3. I tried to pick palettes for all the categories. I tried to pick palettes that are still available. I think most of these are, the majority of them are. So when it comes to monochromatic palettes, from Juvia's Place, we have the Berries mini palette. It's a 6-pan eyeshadow palette of just like purpley red mauve, not mauve, more pink tones. You've got like this hot pink right here, and then you've got this beautiful deep purple, and then you've got a dual chrome here, you've got a red and a really pretty berry shade. So I mean, when they say berries, they mean berries, and pigmented and just really, really nice and affordable. In the monochromatic category, I have the Melt Cosmetics She's and Parties palette. This is another purple berry palette. Seeing a theme here? This to me is the grungy side of monochromatic palettes. And for me, of all the melt palettes I have, this is the best formula. And yeah, really pretty. You can get some really plummy purple, but really purple. Some of these look more on the plum side. A couple of these look more on the plum side, but when you put them on your eye, they're pretty purple. So nice, nice purple palette. And then, you know it was coming, right? From Ace Beauté, the Oceanic palette. This blue-green grungy monochromatic palette, just so pretty. I'm just gonna always love this palette because I love the color scheme. They have, during the Black Friday, and I think even now, these palettes are still on sale. Ace Beauté reformulated all their, well, not all of them, but a majority of their older palettes, this being one of them. And so the formula, I think, is even easier to blend because I believe a lot of these mattes are pressed pigments, and so the very deep ones, depending on how you use it, can be more difficult to layer and to blend. I haven't had any issues with them. Perhaps it's the way that I apply it, but they work for me. The shimmer formula, you know, is best used with your finger, but apply it with your finger. But yeah, in terms of the color story, this is always going to be for me the quintessential green blue monochromatic palette. Next category, top 3 mini or small eyeshadow palettes. This one was a little difficult too because I have a lot of small eyeshadow palettes that I just love, but to narrow it down to the top 3, the first one that come to mind was Natasha Denona, the mini gold palette. I love this color story because it is green. And then yeah, you have everything you need in here. You have your grungy green olive crease shade. You have your deepening outer V shade. It is a metallic satin, so it's not a matte, but it does the trick. And then you have some beautiful lid shades. So yeah, this was an easy one. I used this one time and really enjoyed it. Really liked the look that I came up with this palette. So definitely wanted to include that one. From Juvia's Place, this had to be in this category. This is the Rebel Army palette. It is a quad of just grungy green goodness. And these shadows perform so nicely. Like, this is the Juvia's of old. Beautiful metallic shades, and then you have some really nice mattes. I really like this like gray green dark matte right here. Just really nice. Love this color story, and the performance is really good as well. And then from Ms. Pat McGrath, we have the Voyeuristic Vixen palette. This is the quad, and this is a palette that I was not planning to buy because, you know, it kind of just looks like a lot of what Ms. McGrath does. But I am so glad I did, because just this shade alone, oh my god, I think this is was a new formula for her, and it's a duochrome, and it is so blingy and metallic and just like glittery without glitter particles in it. It's just gorgeous. And yeah, you have you have everything you need. You only have one matte in here, but that works for outer V and the crease as well. And yeah, it can be a companion palette. You can use it on your own, but it's gorgeous. Just this shade alone just makes it worth it. If you don't have this palette, I don't know what you're waiting for. I don't. Top 3 affordable drugstore palettes. Again, Juvia's Place, and this is the Bronzed Rustic palette. This is another palette I was not planning on getting because it's pretty much, you know, warm tone. And I have nothing against warm tone neutrals, okay? I don't. But, you know, I feel like I have enough of them in my collection, so I don't feel the need to go out and buy more. But I did go ahead and buy this palette because it's just so pretty, and I think mainly for this little pop of like poppy right here. But this is a gorgeous palette. I'm so glad I bought it. I did a look with it that I absolutely loved, and it's another one of those easy palettes I would pair with a darker brown to darken up my outer V area. But yeah, just really beautiful. Now, this is a palette that I'm not sure is still available. It is from LA Girl, and it's the Desert Dream eyeshadow palette. This is what she looks like. It has Main Stage on it. I don't know if this was part of a collection called Main Stage. I don't know, but it's called the Desert Dream palette. And from the packaging to the color story to the eyeshadow performance, and this palette is only like $16. LA Girl has other palettes like this. I think, is this 12 pan? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 16 pan palettes. They have more like this with this kind of sturdy plastic packaging and big mirrors and big eyeshadow pans. And they're really nice for drugstore brand and drugstore price. The quality is really good. And not just for drugstore, just against any other eyeshadow formula. It's really good. But the fact that it's really affordable too just makes it all the better. And yeah, this is beautiful. The metallic formula is really nice. They're really metallic, and the mattes are pigmented. And yeah, I really was surprised. This was my first eyeshadow palette from LA Girl. I have since gotten others, and yeah, I find that I really enjoy this formula. And at this price, if you haven't tried LA Girl, don't sleep on them. Don't sleep. And then rounding out the top 3 in the affordable drugstore category is from another palette from Beauty Bay, and it is the Wilderness palette. It is a palette I've only used once, but Look at this color story. Hello? And I'm familiar with the Beauty Bay formula, and of all the palettes that I have from them, it's pretty consistent. So the mattes are pigmented, and then the metallics are really foiled. And yeah, this color story, I mean, look at these greens right here. Just gorgeous. And for what you get, like the packaging, again, it's nice sturdy cardboard packaging. You get a nice size mirror. You get some nice size pans. For the price, they range anywhere from I don't know, I think this one was like $15-20, no more than $20. It's a really good palette, a really good bargain, I think. Next category, high-end / luxury palettes. And from Viseart, yet again, we have the Dark Edit palette. This could have gone in the best top 3 mini palettes, but I put it in this category because I love it so much. Love it so much. You have your warm tone, dark shades. You can do some grunge in here with that beautiful olive green right there. The metallics are beautiful. This dark blue, just really, when I think evening, sultry, I think of this palette. This is a great little small palette from a high-end brand. And then, you know, Miss Pat McGrath was going to make another appearance. And you know which palette it is. It is the Mothership 8 Divine Rose 2 palette. This could have gone in the best neutral palette as far as I'm concerned. That is what she looks like. Just absolute gorgeousness. You can do every day. You can do work. You can do special occasion, holiday, night out. I mean, for me, I can do everything with this palette. And then you have that multi-chrome Extraterrestrial, which is just gorgeous. So yes, of course she was going to be in this. I mean, was there any question? And then rounding out the top 3 in high-end affordable is a palette that could have easily gone into the monochromatic category, and it is from Anastasia Beverly Hills. This is the Norvina 5 palette. And this palette I love so very much. I really like, yes, purple monochromatic goodness, but these deep shades right here, I mean, it just works really nicely. You have a pressed glitter, you have some metallics, you have some neutral tones right here, you have some plums, you have purples. You've really got it all. I mean, just gorgeous. Another palette that if you wanted to do special occasion, going out, blinged up, you can with this. Or if you wanted to go more neutral, not more neutral, but more toned down, soft, you could do that with this palette as well. Very versatile for a monochromatic palette. Next category, best indie palette. I added this category and this was a difficult one, but I did come up with just 3. The first one being from Adept Cosmetics, and it is the Kodan palette. You've heard me talk about this palette this year. Just gorgeous. You've got some multi-chromes in here, dual chromes. You've got 2 mattes. And just beautiful. This is a wonderful palette if you just want to do something really simple, something really like special, but you don't want to put a whole lot of work into a look, but you want it to look like you did. You could take some mattes from another palette and just pop one of these multi-chromes or dual chromes onto your lid and call it a day. Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Love this palette. And this is a great palette for like right now in the winter time. It speaks grungy winter goodness to me. So yeah, love this. And then another indie palette that I've come to love from a brand that I've just recently purchased from or gotten acquainted with. It is from Blend Bunny. It's the Surge palette. You've heard me talk about this palette as well. Really nice. You have a little bit of everything in this palette. You have pastels, you have neons, and you have some dark grungy shades. But the whole thing, you got some brighter shadows here, but the whole thing kind of just speaks grunge to me. It's just a grungy vibe for me. And the shimmers are really nice, and the mattes are really pigmented and blend really nice. Just a nice palette. Yeah, I've been so impressed with this palette. I've purchased more from this brand. So, yep, had to include it in this category. And then rounding out the top 3 eyeshadow palettes in indie brands is a palette that could have gone in the high-end category, but I decided to put her here. From Danessa Myricks, this is the Lightwork 3 palette. Again, another palette, if you follow me here, you've seen me just wax on and on about. Just beautiful monochromatic eyeshadows, duochromes, creams, a black, just absolutely gorgeous. Just a really fun palette when you just want to do something different. Maybe if you want to go outside of your comfort zone, you want to do something outside the box, this is the palette. Unfortunately, it is limited edition and it is out of stock, and Danessa said it was pretty much not coming. She pretty much said it's not coming back. So yeah, if you have this in your collection, lucky you. And now the last category, I felt like I wanted to add this category into this video, and it is the best collab palettes, best brand collaboration palettes. And the first one, which will be of no surprise to you once again, is from Shroud Cosmetics, with she's now Baddie Bean, formerly known as Butte Bean, and it's the It's Freaking Bats palette. And I just really like the color story of this palette. It was a Halloween, I believe, release, and just perfect for Halloween, but a perfect grunge, beautiful grunge palette. Just really interesting shades here, and the way they've all been put together to make this color story very, very interesting. I do have hard pan in one of my shadows and I've only used this, I think, twice, maybe 3 times altogether. I've gone in and used shades with other eyeshadow palettes. I've done complete looks with this palette as well, and yeah, it's just really nice. I just love the colors. The metallics are really nice and foiled, and I love this deep plum shade. Even though it's patchy, it's not the best formula in terms of matte shades, but I just enjoy this palette. It really just challenges me. It challenges me, so that I don't mind. Another one in my top collab palettes is Sydney Grace and their collaboration with Temptalia. And there were 3 palettes in this collection. I opted to get 2 because the color stories for all 3 were just too similar in my opinion. But from the packaging, which is really beautiful, and you can just tell she put a lot, Christine Temptalia, she put a lot of thought into these palettes and this collection of palettes, and the color stories are just really nice. Maybe not everyone's cup of tea, you know, I'll say. But for those of you that like cool tone, jewel tone eyeshadow color stories, this is beautiful. This is the Quintessence palette, and my favorite is the On the Horizon palette. And it's to me, it's a little more softer, I guess, because you have some of these mauvey warm tones here. And these beautiful greens. The quality of these eyeshadows, the Sydney Grace formula, is just it's just really, really top notch. These metallics are so foiled, true metallics, and the mattes are pigmented but blend so nicely. And I thought, for me, that just the quality, the color stories, and the quality of these eyeshadow palettes they just really hit it out of the park. So definitely had to include this collaboration. And then last but not least, from ColourPop. It's their brand collaboration with Star Wars, the Child palette, and now the new Mandalorian palette from the Star Wars Mandalorian series on Disney Plus. And you know, once again, from the packaging, they just really got it right with the Baby Yoda Grogu palette. You know, they got it all right, from the names, from the color story. This is a beautiful green palette, but then you have some neutral shades here that make this one and done palette where you can go in and do a full look using just the one palette. And then the Mandalorian, which is the newest, one of the newest in my collection. And I did, for those of you who saw my last video, I did go on ahead. I'm afraid they'll even put it up. I did go ahead and get a new one. So this one is pristine. I have used this palette though. I used it before I used the damaged one. But I have used it. I think this is just a beautiful, cool toned, neutral color story that really is really appropriate for and a good representation of the Mandalorian. Din Djarin is his name, in case you were curious. And you know, wherever he goes, he goes. So of course I had to add them both to my collection. And yeah, I think this was a great collaboration. And you know, not like that Urban Decay Prince travesty. This one is a really really does justice to the series. Let me know in the comments, what do you think of my top 3? Did you agree with my choices? Were there areas where you disagree? Let me know what some of your top palettes are in some of these categories. If you liked this video, then please give it a like and consider subscribing, because I'm here every Saturday with eyeshadow and makeup tutorials, hauls, swatches, and reviews. I want to thank you for joining me today. I hope to see you again next week. Until then, bye-bye.